am so excited. Listen, we are taking a break from our normal women's Bible study. We were looking at the girls' trip, the movie. We've been having fun, but listen, we're just on pause for the month of May because the month of May is Women's Month. Ladies, make some noise. Woo! We are so excited. We have deemed these Thursday as Diva Power Thursdays. I'm so excited. Tonight, we're going to be talking about women and mental health. So you don't want to miss it. You don't want your friends to miss it. You don't want your frenemies, your enemies, and strangers to miss it. So listen, this is what I need you to do. I need you to share. I need you to tag somebody. I need you to let everybody know that they got to be on tonight, that they cannot miss the information that is going to be shared to us so much as women of color and just women, period. What happens to our mental health is that we just let it go because we think we're super women and that we can do anything and everything and we can conquer all, and that is great and we can, but at the same time, we need self-care. What is going on with our mental state? It don't mean you crazy. It just means you may just have a lot of stuff going on with you. And so listen, if you're just now jumping on at 6 o'clock, we're getting ready to get this thing started. We need you to share. Welcome to the Divas Den. This is the Divas Den, and this is Diva Power Thursdays for the month of May. Share it to your group, share it to a page. We need you to tag somebody, let them know that they got to get in on this thing. Tell us where you're from. Hey, Sister Tammy. Hey, Jude. Hey, Sister Judy. Sister Young. We're so excited that we are here together. Listen, ladies, this is just like how we do Bible study, how we do it in the Divas Den on any other Thursdays. When you have questions, we need you to put them in the comments. And then there's a section that we're going to have designated towards the end of this segment for tonight, where we're going to answer those questions, as many as we can, as best as we can. So listen, we need you to talk back to us. We need you to socialize. We need you to encourage one another as we get on this thing. Tonight, we are talking about women and mental health. And we have a phenomenal, awesome woman of God who is going to be talking to us about women and mental health. Her name is Brooke Wilson. She's an LPC. Listen, let me bring her on so she can tell you herself. Hey, Brooke.
Good evening. Hello.
Yeah, we are so excited that you are here. You are doing a lot of things, lady. You're a mother. You're a wife. You're a wife not just of anybody, but you're a wife of a pastor, and who just recently got into the service. And so you got that going on, and God has blessed you to even start your own counseling business online. And I'll give you a little minute to talk about that. But you are doing great things and wonderful things. And who other than to talk to us about mental health than the Brooke?
Good evening. I am so grateful. I'm honored and I'm humbled to have been thought of for such a task of this. So I appreciate you, the Reverend Ayanna Johnson and her husband, the Reverend Dr. Rodriguez Johnson Jr., for this opportunity. I'm really looking forward to having this conversation this evening. Like First Lady said, my name is Brooke Wilson. I'm a licensed professional counselor in the states of Ohio and Texas. And I specialize in perinatal mental health, which means I work with women and families affected by perinatal mood and anxiety disorders, like postpartum depression. So in my private practice, which is Empowered Wellness Connections, I also serve individuals, couples, and families. And then in my 9-to-5 job, I coordinate a team of mental health consultants in children and family services, focusing on infant mental health and child development. And that's at MHMR Tarrant County. I am married to the pastor of Baker Chapel AME Church in Fort Worth, Reverend Dr. Melvin Donna Wilson Jr. And we have 2 beautiful children, Lena, who is 7, and Trace, who is 5. He'll be 6 on Tuesday. So happy early birthday to my I'm a pretty transparent person. I welcome, any and all questions pertaining to mental health. And if I don't know the answer, I promise I will get it to you.
That's right. And so I just want to just if you can see it on the screen, Empowerment Wellness Connection. Lady Brooke, won't you tell them what that website is so that they can be connected to you?
Yes, if you visit ewellnessconnections.com and check me out. Again, specializing in perinatal mental health, but also serving the needs of couples and families, individuals just struggling with mental health in general.
Awesome. We're so excited about that. So, let's get started. Some people think that mental health means I have lost my marbles, that I am on the corner, I'm talking to myself, I don't know where I'm coming or where I'm going. So can we just to start off, give us a basic definition of what is mental health?
So I believe it's important to make the distinction between mental health and mental illness, because a lot of times when we hear the words mental health, we think about mental illnesses, but we don't realize that mental health is our overall well-being. We're thinking about how our bodies respond to external and internal stimuli, whether it's our environment, the food and drinks that we digest, and how we respond to stress and trauma. So mental illness, on the other hand, refers to that imbalance or that shift between our mind and our body, that mind and body connection. So mental illnesses affect our mental health, our overall state. It affects how we exist. And some mental illnesses may impact our ability to function daily.
Right. So we have to be careful not to get those confused.
Correct.
Mental health and mental illness, right?
Yes.
Well, with that, with those assumptions that mental health is a certain thing, comes stereotypes. So what are some of the most common stereotypes of women in mental health?
Unfortunately, there's a lot of stereotypes. There's a lot of stigma around mental health and mental illnesses. There are some mental illnesses that have symptoms of aggression and violent behaviors. But that's not the case for all of them. And in fact, research shows us that using alcohol and drugs is a more reliable predictor of violent behavior than a mental illness. Psychosis is the state of impairment alternative to our actual reality. And this disorder it's less common, but it can also be experienced with drug and alcohol abuse. So that psychosis is where that term psychotic or crazy comes from, which I loathe. I also want to say that just because you may experience a psychotic episode, it does not mean you are crazy. Okay. I would love for us to erase the term crazy from our dictionary, because it really can be harmful, and it definitely feeds into that existing stigma in society. Having a mental illness doesn't mean you're incompetent. We see this depicted a lot, unfortunately, in the media, movies, TV. A lot of times people with mental illnesses are portrayed as irrational or childlike. And I honestly enjoy educating people on stereotypes, especially this one I'm about to mention. And I'm probably going to step on some toes with this one.
Yeah,
so I've not heard or learned anything else so far from this conversation today. I just want you to hear this now. So those that are struggling with mental illness, please hear me when I say it is not your fault, and you are not alone. It's not your fault. Mental illnesses are not punishments for our sins. Hello, somebody.
Hello.
This was originally an 18th century mindset. People still think that today. Mental illnesses have nothing to do with our sins, our character flaws. It's not a weakness. It doesn't make you weak. It's a result of our biology, okay? Our genetics, our environment, our life experiences, and our trauma.
And that's a lot. That's a lot that you have that it can come from. Because as women, we tend to ignore our mental health, how a situation has affected us, be it trauma, be it past experiences, or whatever the case may be. We happen to overlook those things. Because society, there's been things that still needed to be done. Still had to pay
Absolutely.
bills, still had to take care of kids and family, and we still had to go to work. And so we did not allow ourselves to have that, so to speak.
Absolutely.
To say you can't feel.
That's it.
Right?
Just like you said earlier, we put those superwoman capes on, right? Like we're not supposed to show weakness, like showing signs of symptoms of mental health or addressing our self-care. That's for some reason that's been shown as a sign of weakness, and that's not the case at all.
Mm-hmm. And so let's normalize this, because Tammy says, and people that don't suffer from mental health, understand that those that do, which means those that don't struggle, and so normalizing that your mental health, is it a daily thing that we have to kind of keep in practice? Like, how do we maintain a positive mental health?
Just like you eat, we nourish our bodies. We replenish our bodies when we are feeling that feeling of malaise, like you're just not feeling well, or when you're hungry, you eat, right?
Right.
If you're feeling down and you can't seem to shake this feeling, let's do something about it. Where's our self-care? Where are our healthy coping skills? Just like we go to the doctor when we're not feeling well, we may need to go to a therapist. Did I say therapist? We may need to go see a counselor and talk about what's going on. I think that a lot of us, we even forget the power of venting, just saying it, just speaking it, releasing it, is very powerful. And then some of us may need a little boost with some type of medication to help us. And that's okay. That's okay.
And so how do I know when I need to take it a step further? Because listen, we grew up in where we told Big Mama, right? We told Big Mama what was going on in our lives. We told our best friend. We still talk to our best friend. We pour our hearts out to them. But we do know that they're not clinical. And so some answers, some questions that a counselor may ask to get deeper into finding out more, they might not necessarily know to ask. So how do I know when I feel as if I might need to take this a little bit further than my own communal circle?
So those feelings of sadness and hopelessness can unfortunately sometimes lead to, a misuse of drugs and alcohol. And I'm not just talking about illegal drugs, but even prescriptions. Mm-hmm. People misuse those things to experience some sort of mind-altering state, right? Usually, not always, but usually not to feel those symptoms of sadness and hopelessness. So if you find that you're self-medicating and using those prescription medications more than prescribed, or indulging in those alcoholic beverages more than usual, it might be time to talk to somebody about some healthy coping skills. All right? If you're noticing changes in your eating and sleeping habits, are you eating more or less than usual? Mm-hmm. Are you stress eating? Are you sleeping normally at night? Or are you experiencing insomnia and having trouble staying asleep? That excessive worry or fear, which is usually related to anxiety, has that crept up out of nowhere and you're unable to explain it or control it? So if these symptoms are things that are affecting your ability to function on a day-to-day basis, then we need to take it a step further.
Definitely. And don't brush it off, right? Because we normally brush it off and say, oh, we snap out of it, right? We'll have a moment and we so-called snap out of it as, okay, I'm good now. And then all of a sudden we don't need to see anybody or we don't need to talk to anybody because we feel as if I had a mental breakdown, I had an anxiety attack, and I'm okay. Mm-hmm. But that's not if you've had
one, the end of it,
then you need to go.
Absolutely.
If you've had one, you would need to go.
Absolutely.
So what do I do if, you know, if I feel as if I've gone to a center, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm still feeling these feelings.
Mm-hmm.
What do I do? Do I need to try another counselor? Like, what would you say?
So that's an excellent question. The easiest answer, keep trying. You know, like we said earlier, when we're not feeling well, when we're running a fever and coughing, we go to a doctor. The doctor will evaluate and treat us. They prescribe medication to help us feel better. And then if they don't, we keep searching for a doctor that will actually listen and help. So why is it that our mental health is so different from our physical health when we think about treating it? So if we go to the doctor when we don't feel well, why don't more of us go to that therapist or that psychiatrist when we know we're mentally struggling? Are we afraid? What are we afraid of? Is it having to admit that you need help? You know, let's work to break those stigmas, right? Stereotypes. Unfortunately, just like there are some doctors that are not a good fit, there will be therapists and psychiatrists that are not a good fit.
Say that.
So when you're making your searches, when you're completing your searches for those mental health providers, and you're making that first call, remember that you have the right to interview that provider. Ask them questions. Ask them, you know, how they would treat a Black woman with XYZ symptoms, or a Black man, or, you know, we can take race out of it for a second, a woman with XYZ symptoms. You know what I'm saying? So it's okay to ask those questions because they're going to be serving you. You know, we're here to help you out. And so we want to make sure that this is a good fit. There's also the barrier of money, right? It's expensive sometimes.
Oh, yes.
Fortunately, not all insurance companies provide behavioral health benefits. Mm-hmm. You do need to contact your insurance companies to see what those behavioral benefits are. Make sure you get someone in your network, okay? And if you are someone who does not have insurance, then you need to look for those providers in the area that provide a sliding scale. So, you know, and a sliding scale is a structural fee for those that need to pay on income basis. So your copay or your counseling fees will be based upon your income. So look for those providers. Keep trying. You have to be committed and you have to be consistent. We need to be committed to our mental health just as much as we commit to our physical health. Our brains and our souls need just as much nourishment as our stomachs and our bodies.
Yes, be consistent. Just like the woman with the issue blood who went from one doctor to another doctor to another doctor to another doctor, trying to find somebody to help her stop her bleeding. She went to Jesus, and we say, thank God. And I think a lot of times our stigma is, you know, when you're dealing with mental health, yes, go to Jesus, right? Mm-hmm. But sometimes you need a little bit more.
Absolutely.
Jesus is always involved in it. But, you know, pray for God to lead you to a counselor who, Sister Wilson said, that is a good fit for you. Listen, I do the same thing when I look for a lactationist. I'm just being for it. Before I hooked up with my lactationist, before her hands touched my hair, I need to know how long she's been doing it. I need to see some pictures of what she's done.
The methods that are used.
Yeah, I even needed her to call my old lactationist to talk to her first before she even put her hands in my hair. And so, you know, just as much care that we have for our hair, for our health, for our children, you know, we want to overdue for everybody else, make sure everybody else has. But then when it comes to us as women, we drop the ball. We don't take as much effort in making sure that we have the quality care that our children, that our spouse, that the people that we have around us have. We have to make sure that that is maintained. And I would even add too that check with your job, because sometimes your job will allow you to have a certain amount of sessions. They will pay
Yes.
a certain amount of sessions. So I would say, do that as well. I'm going to put this right here. It says, do you recommend or suggest taking mental health days off?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And to be honest, I feel like that should be a separate part of PTO. Like it should not be included. You shouldn't have to take PTO to take a mental health day, but that's a whole other topic, a whole other conversation. But yes, absolutely. I know it's probably easier said than done, especially for those of us who have kiddos and we have to take PTO, when our kids are off, and that can be difficult. But that is so important. It's so important so that you can just take a day of self-care, a whole day, more than you can, to be honest. Like if you can arrange where you can have like a Thursday and a Friday off and then have Saturday and Sunday off as well, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, do it. Do it. Plan it. Put it on the calendar. So if you're married, make sure your spouse sees this. Like this is when I'm taking this. I need you to be primary caregiver right now because mama's got to go or daddy's got to go. Do it.
Do it. And I would even say too, I would even add to that, even those who are not married, and then even if you are married and your spouse is busy, he's doing something else, look at your circle. Who are the people that are around you, who can help you, right? Because we cannot succeed by ourselves. We can't be in this thing by ourselves. We need our support group, our support system. And if you are in this thing, you feel as if you're in this thing by yourself, a lot of times it's because we just don't ask. Right? We already assume that somebody is going to say no.
Absolutely.
Right? And yesterday, he was like, when we were in the store, I was going to ask for a snack, but I just assumed you were going to say no. I was like, why'd you say that? I said, I probably would let you have some gum. He was like, oh, man. And so, just ask. You don't know a lot of times what you're missing out on by just asking. And here's another thing, just like Sister Wilson said about, keep going to search for the counselor that's a right fit for you. Just because somebody says no, don't let that stop you from having a personal health day or a personal health moment. Because just because they said no doesn't mean the next one is going to say no. You keep asking until you get your yes.
Seriously. And I think I saw in the comments, what if your supporters don't really understand? So then you need to find somebody who does, to be honest. Like if the people that are in your circle don't understand your low moments or that you need some space, look for some support groups in the area. And you'll be surprised on how easily you can relate to some of those other participants. And a lot of friendships are formed out of support groups. Mm-hmm. We encourage that. Counselors encourage that because that's what they're there for. That's another village for you. That's another support. So think about that. That's something to consider.
In fact, there's a movie by Tyler Perry. We may do it one day, ladies. I don't know. It's called The Single Moms Club, where it was a group of women together and they took turns watching each other's kids.
See?
So one mother will watch the group's kids while the rest of them go out, and then they would rotate. And so, hey, if you have a group of friends who can do that, and you can do that with, like, hey, I watch the kids this week, y'all go, you watch the kids next week, I'll go. Do that, right? Because we are in this thing together. Nadia brings up a good point. She says, wow, I like that idea. I always feel bad no matter how supportive my husband is because I'm mom, right? Not mad, not bad, but just guilty. I just feel we do. Like how bad though, Brooke, is that guilt that we feel when we take that time for ourselves?
We feel guilty about everything. From the moment we bring our kids home from the hospital, we feel guilty. I mean, we could feel guilty about the piece of paper that's on the floor. It's like we have to normalize these feelings, mamas. We really do. And we have to tackle them. We are moms, but we are humans. We are humans. We are people. And we still have to take care of ourselves. And if we're so busy taking care of other people and we forget to take care of ourselves, what's going to happen to them if something happens to us? They're going to eventually move on. They're going to be hurt, obviously, right? But they're going to end up moving on because they still have to live. We have to take care of ourselves. That's saying you can't pour from an empty cup.
Mm-mm.
That's how that happens. That's how we end up in hospitals. That's how we end up, more of us on medications and having nervous breakdowns or mental breakdowns, anxiety and panic attacks, because we're not taking care of ourselves. We keep pouring out and giving and giving and giving, but who is pouring back into us? We have to take charge of that and make sure that our cup is being filled, that we are nourishing ourselves if nobody else is doing it. We have to do it.
I like that. Making sure that our cup is filled. I think too often we're pouring out, and a lot of us are pouring out fumes right now. We're, because we have exhausted all of the liquid that is within. So while we're on this, just a quick recap. How do we fill that cup again? How do we make sure that our cup stays full, that it stays, at least something is in it?
Mm-hmm.
How do we make sure that?
So I think one of the main things is to be in touch with what makes you happy. We have to remember what gives us joy. And if we have found that we don't remember or we have lost sight of what brings us joy, that's a telltale sign that we're not doing what we need to do for self-care. So even if it's something as simple as taking a bath after you put the kids to sleep or after you've come home from work, tap into that support system, get that bath or that long hot shower in. Sing in the shower or scream at the top of your lungs if you need to. Whatever, if it's journaling,
Mm-hmm.
to remember and make time for those things. And I feel like that's one of our biggest hurdles, is actually making the time, because it's so easy to say, oh, I don't have time to do that. But we prioritize and we make time for things that are important to us. And if self-care is as important as you believe it is, you'll make time for it. Whether it could be painting your nails, it could be cooking, it could be watching a ratchet TV show. Whatever it is, whatever that makes you happy, as long as it's healthy. I'm say that it needs to be healthy. Okay, do it. Make the time for it. Even if you have to put it in your planner, if you're one of those people that goes by your planner faithfully, put it in your planner. So you know that you have that specific time carved out for your self-care.
And don't switch it.
Jesus.
Don't switch it.
And don't switch it. because you wouldn't change your hair appointment.
Mm-mm.
You wouldn't change your nail appointment. So don't switch it.
That is, we have to put it, it's permanent, etched in that.
That's it.
That journey, whatever it may be. Like sometimes it's getting up early in the morning. Sometimes it's when everybody is asleep at night. Whatever. And sometimes it's taking that extra long way home on the way from work. Like what? Be creative about it. You don't always have to have money to take the time that you need for yourself. Sister Tammy says, how does a person with generalized anxiety disorder normalize themselves, have the ability to function successfully, even with therapy?
Great question. So people with anxiety, myself including, typically have those constant worries or fears, right? That you just can't seem to manage. And a lot of times it's recommended to restructure those thoughts. So say, for instance, you see a job that you want to apply for, and then those thoughts go, you're not qualified for that job. You don't have enough experience for that job. Or if you interview for it, you're not going to get it. Restructure that. What is it exactly? Where are those thoughts coming from? Where are they stemming from? And tell yourself, remind yourself, I got this. I am more than qualified for this position, and I will get this job. And if I don't, that means another one is better for me that's out there. Remember those affirmations. Remember to restructure your thoughts. And if you find that they are so overwhelming that you can't seem to control it, then you need to talk to your doctor about possibly getting a medication to kind of help you get control of that. Doesn't mean that you'll be on medication for the rest of your life. That's not always the case. But you might need a jump start, and that's okay. Continue therapy, continue the medication, continue those thoughts, and it will get better. It'll get easier.
And a lot of times when it comes to medication, a lot of times they want to start you on a higher dose. And if you don't feel comfortable, it's okay, especially if this is new for you, you want to see how it goes, ask for a little dose. Right? They can say, well, I really feel as if you need. They are doing you a service. And so speak up, right, about your own health, about your own well-being. Let me start off on a low dose and let me see how that goes. Right.
And they're supposed to start you on the lower dose. They're supposed to, but you are absolutely right in that some don't. And it's so important to advocate for yourselves. Guys, we have to, especially my people of color, because the disparities and the microaggressions in the mental health field, excuse me, just like everywhere else, is real. Excuse me. We have to advocate for ourselves. We are the experts of our bodies.
Say that again.
Doctors, we are the experts of our bodies. We know when something is not right. And we have to advocate for it, for ourselves, because nobody else is going to do it.
Nobody. And so when it comes to all of these things and self-awareness, making yourself a priority. Ladies, it's time to take that power back. The theme for our Women's Month is no excuses. Women walking in God's power. And so what is that power that God has given us? God has given us knowledge. God has given us the ability to advocate for ourselves. God has given us so many things other than just his word that has given us power. So no more excuses. No more excuses of I don't have time. There's time if you want it to be time. We shut down everything for a show to watch our favorite whatever is coming on TV. We will shut it down.
Listen.
We need to shut it down for ourselves. Shut it down for yourselves. Whatever you need, that is going to make sure that you get what you need. A lot of times, what happens, Brooke, is that we feel as if we're missing something. If I stop, I'm missing doing something. I'm not as productive as I know I can be because I'm stopping to take care of myself. But you and I know, listen, that the world is going to continue to go.
It's going to keep going.
With or without you. It is. It's gonna keep going. My epiphany, my moment was when my son was going in and out of the hospital. And I had to be there. I had to be at my job. And then I tried to be at work and I tried to do so many different things. But although they said, we're with you, we're sorry, let us know if there's something that you need, at the same time, work was still going on.
Yeah.
You know, I know you're busy doing this, but when you get a moment, can you just send this for us? And so I knew that I had to take care of me. I had to take care of my family.
Mm-hmm.
And so listen, ladies, you got to do what is best for you. Take those days that you need. Sister Young says, if you don't take care of yourself, your mind, your body will shut you down.
Won't it though? Won't it?
It will shut it all down.
Absolutely.
So, you know, you did talk about how you help with women who are who have just given birth and all the things that they go through. But how so true is it that even the same things that they feel after labor, we still feel for those who haven't even given birth?
You sure we got time to talk about this?
We got time, girl. Let's go.
Oh my goodness. So are we talking about specific, like mom guilt, or narrow it down for me?
Let's talk about mom guilt right now.
Okay.
Let's start with
mom guilt. So we briefly touched on this a little bit earlier, but this mom guilt that we have, or even those that don't have, that have not birthed kiddos, or those who are not physical parents, anybody, we can be talking about anybody right now, to be honest, guilt in general. Okay. Let's just say guilt. So we're afraid and we feel guilty that we need to take a break. But why? Why do we feel guilty that we need a break? The kids need a break. Our friends need a break. Our bosses need a break. Everyone takes a break at one point, right? Yes. So why do we feel so guilty when it's time for us to take a break? Everybody needs a break.
Everybody.
Men, women, black, white, Asian, we all need a break.
We all do.
At some point. Like the Young said, if we don't take that break, we will shut down. One day, I could not get out of bed. I couldn't get out. I wasn't sick. my body, like my limbs, would not move. I was like, what is going on? I could not think of why I felt like that. Like I had been hit by a semi. Like my body just was, I couldn't move. I was exhausted. I hadn't been moving. I hadn't slowed down. I wasn't sleeping well. Your body will shut down. So I think it's so important for, like, even when that guilt creeps up, just like my brothers and sisters struggling with anxiety, we have to restructure that thought and think about why it is that we actually feel guilty. Where is it coming from? Is it because we felt neglected at one point? Is it a stereotype, a societal norm that we have just conformed to? Where is it coming from? And what's the worst that could happen if we take our break? What's the worst that could happen if we don't take our break? Weigh those options and see where we go. What you come up with? I guarantee you what will happen if you don't take a break. Those things will outweigh what will happen if you take a break. I guarantee it. Because what will happen if you don't take a break? It could affect you physically, mentally, emotionally. You could be completely drained, completely exhausted. And then you can't function at all. Whereas had you just taken that break for a day or 2 or 3 or 7, we could be filled back up and be completely rejuvenated and ready to tackle on these tasks even better than before. Everybody needs a break.
Everybody needs a break. And and that is so important. And so also, how does our mental health then, when we're talking about families, affect the family when we neglect it?
So the family picks up more than what we realize. When we are struggling, our family struggles too. Mm-hmm. See it, but I guarantee you, your kids are picking up on it, your spouse is picking up on it, or whoever lives with you is picking up on it. It's an energy. It is an energy. And I remember shortly after I had Lena, I started experiencing some symptoms of postpartum depression. And I didn't really, to be honest, even though I was in my master's program for counseling, we didn't really talk about perinatal mood and anxiety disorders though. And so it didn't register that that is what was happening at that time. And my poor husband, he didn't know what was going on. He didn't know how to respond, but he could tell that something was off, that I was off. And to be honest, I didn't even know how to explain it to him because I didn't really know and understand it that well myself then. But it definitely affected him. It affected our marriage because our communication was down. I was crying all the time. I didn't want anybody touching or looking at Lena. Just, a myriad of things. But it affects that family system. And then if our family thinks that that's the way that we're supposed to behave, that that's the norm, if something like that happens to them, they're not going to seek help either. And that's not okay. It becomes a vicious cycle. So we need to be the ones to break that cycle. And if you're feeling down, have those age appropriate conversations with your kids about what's going on with you and let them know that it's okay. And mommy or daddy is seeking help so that I can get better. This is what I need to do in order to get better. Dads is the same thing. I mean, I know we're talking about women, but our men are struggling too, y'all. They are struggling. And there's more of a stigma with men than it is with women. So it's okay. We need to be having these conversations within our families, within our circles, within our units, so that we can normalize these feelings, so that we can normalize these signs and symptoms, and also get the help that we need so that we can be better, so our children can be better, so we can break this cycle.
And that's so important. I think education will help so much on so many levels, but sometimes it's not just if I know better, I do better, because sometimes I know better and I still don't do better. But it's actually being intentional about our mental health and our well-being. It's okay to say, Doc, I don't know what's going on with me, but what I do know is X, Y, Z. I can't sleep. I'm crying a lot. And they will know from what you say how to guide the conversation to figure out what is actually going on. Don't Google.
Oh my gosh, please do not Google. Please don't do it.
Don't do
It's so hard. It's so hard not to, because it's right there and it's so accessible. Google is not always right. I know you can go to WebMD. WebMD is not always right. Go to your physician. Your physician. Call the nurse online, or, on call if you have to. Don't Google, because Google will always pop up the worst possible symptoms and the worst possible diagnosis. Google is not a doctor. They don't have a degree. WebMD is not always right. Go to
So now you said, "Oh, I had to stop Googling."
Yes, don't do it. Don't do it.
So make sure that you're getting the proper help you need. Here's another question. Why does it seem like bipolar disorder has such a stigma or negative view?
Ooh, bipolar disorder is one that is characterized by really high highs and really low lows. So there are people that experience these symptoms of grandiosity, like you can't touch me, I can fly, I can do anything, I don't need sleep. And then you have this other side of the spectrum where people can't get out of bed and they're crying and weeping and having thoughts of suicide. So in my opinion, it is because there's such a spectrum of bipolar disorder, and that person can experience both sides of that spectrum within a short amount of time. So sometimes it can be misdiagnosed and misconstrued as like multiple personality disorders. You never know what side of the spectrum that person is going to be on.
And again, I would say too, is because people are not educated is why things get a bad rap.
Absolutely. That's what it boils down to.
Yeah. And because it's different, because they may not be used to it, because it looks weird, it gets that bad reputation, because people are just not educated. And so we have to educate people on, just like we are starting to educate people on Black Lives Matter and what that's about. We have to educate people on everything of what's going on. And if you know somebody who talks down about anxiety, who talks down about a panic attack. I remember I had a panic attack. It came out of nowhere. And I had to realize what it was. I had one not too long after my father died. And at my job, we were looking at HPV and all the effects of HPV. and they were showing individuals who were going through cancer treatment.
Mm-hmm.
And I lost my breath. I had to go in a room, I had to take a moment, and I had to be by myself because I had a panic attack. Somebody may think somebody had a panic attack and they think they're going crazy. Educate people on what's going on. Do you know of any resources, any free resources, or any other resources that are out there that can be helpful to those who are listening?
So, of course, it's going to depend on what area you are in. Dialing 211 is probably the most effective way to locate a resource in your area. You can always go to, this is when it's okay to Google. Google those free mental health resources in your area. So specifically for my area, I do have some resources on my website, ewellnessconnections.com. And if you just click on the resources tab, there are some local resources listed on my website. You can also access resources at MHMR of Tarrant County. Those are free. Yep, there we go. Thank you for pulling that up.
You're welcome. So here's so for those who are watching, and those who are even just listening, if you go to Brooke's website, Empowerment Wellness, ewellnessconnections.com, and go to resources, there are resources, client forums, support for National Prenatal Association, financial assistance, Texas food resources, and also for Ohio, the Ohio Food Bank Association.
Yes, but anything outside of that, like I said, 211 is a really good resource because they will be able to connect you to those resources in your area. Now, for specific mental health resources, I would recommend calling that number on the back of your insurance card if you have insurance, because they will be able to direct you straight to someone who actually accepts your insurance and who is in your network.
Yes, and Sister Young also says that there is an
MHMR and yes.
Yeah. And so also you can check them out. What does that mean? My Health, My Resources. Mm-hmm. In Killeen. And you can also Google and check to see if there's one as well in your area. Well, thanks, Brooke. I think there's so much here. We may even have to have a part 2 after.
I'm okay with that.
We may have to have a part 2. I think we're gonna have to look at that. So just real quick before we go forward, what are some final words, some things that you just want to stress to the ladies tonight?
So again, I said this earlier, those that are struggling, I need us to remember that it's not our fault, that it is okay. It is okay to be a Christian, believe in Jesus, and still see a therapist. Okay? Because faith without works is what?
Dead. So
you can pray, but you got to do the work too. You can't expect it to just happen. And also, you're not going to see change overnight. We didn't get to that state overnight. It's just like losing weight. We didn't get this heavy overnight. We're not going to drop 50 overnight. Okay? Working on our mental health, we have to be intentional. We have to be consistent. And we have to be committed. And we need to make it more important. Just like we address our physical health, our physical body, we need to address our brains and our souls to ensure that mind and body connection is where it needs to be in order for us to feel empowered so that we can continue to live daily and function.
Amen. One more resource for those in the Bell County. The Central County Services also can help with resources as well if you are in Bell County. Ladies, listen, it has been wonderful. It continues to be wonderful. Listen, it's the Women's Month, so we need you to, if you can, just donate a little something to women. Our DIVA ministry, you can go by our Cash App, $ACAMEC. That's $ACAMEC. You can text 73256 ACAME. We have the RAM app for those who are connected already to Anderson Chapel. If you're on Facebook or YouTube, what's up? You can go to our website, andersonchapelcolleen.org. Click on the Learn More app, on Learn More button if you're on Facebook, and you can give securely online, or you can mail it. And we just have this new app, Zilu. Probably saying it wrong. That's all right. And there's info at andersonchapelcolleen.org. Make sure you let everybody know that you are, when you give, that is going to the Divas ministry as we continue to provide these type of resources to the women and provide it not just to the ladies of Anderson Chapel, but to Texas, to beyond, to be able to give these resources to them and to help women who are in need. So listen, we got so much going on. Next Thursday, we're going to be talking about women and nutrition.
Right.
Woo! Everybody needs it. I don't care if you've already reached your weight goals or you have not. We all need this. Like we have to take care of our spiritual, mental body. We have to also take care of our physical body. What we consume, what we put in our mouths, what we're doing with our bodies. I want to be able to have fun with my grandchildren when they get to the age, to be able to run around with them, to have energy. But just like we have to put in work when it comes to our mental health, we have to put in work when it comes to our bodies as well. So God has some great things that are forthcoming and that are for us. And then also for those ladies, on the 15th, we are having, again, our Diva painting with a twist. I am so excited. It's Diva painting. Woo! This is the picture that we are going to be doing. Walking by Faith. It's $20. The canvas is 11 by 14. We went up a little bigger in size. We know you can do it. You can do it. You don't have to be a Picasso. If you are not in the area to pick up supplies, listen, still go to our website. Still email us at info@andersonchapelcolleen.org and say that you want to be involved. You can register for free, and we will send you the list of items that you need to pick up. And so that we can all be on this thing and have fun. Listen, it's been great. You know what? Before we go, let's pray. God, we thank you for this time coming together. We thank you, God, for the women. We thank you, God, that we have acknowledged that sometimes life is a little heavy and we need help. And God, now we know the resources. Now we know, God, what to look out for. Now we know, God, how to keep our cups full because we've been pouring out for so many people. Help us, God, to create a circle around us who will help uplift us, who will help us get that time of rest when we need. And if, God, we don't know who those people are, help God point those people out to us so that we know that they are in our circle, that you have created them for us so that we can help one another. God, we thank you. We praise you and we bless you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Ladies, listen. I love you to life and never to death. This is Reverend AJ. Sister Brooke is with us. Don't forget, next Thursday at Divas Power Thursday, we're going to be talking about nutrition. You don't want to miss it.